Hello, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to our town hall. I'm Sheila Edwards-Lang, for those of you who I've not met. We had our Tribal Advisory Board meeting last week, and we were very pleased that we have preliminary approval from the Chehalis tribe, and we are working with Muckleshoot and Puyallup, and they have drafts of MOUs to replicate what we're doing with the Pathways to Promise partnership, where those students will be guaranteed admission from those students who are tribally enrolled in those tribes. So that is a new way for us to engage with Indigenous communities to get their students to consider coming to University of Washington, Tacoma. So that is very good progress, and once we have those finalized, we will have formal signing ceremonies on those, in those communities to move forward with that. So very excited about that. So I want to thank all of you for, we've had some crazy weather, and we're going to have, it's in the, Susan's laughing, yes, and it is in the forecast that we may have bad weather again on Friday. We'll see if that happens. But I was walking in the hall and ran into a faculty member who said, I have an 8 o'clock class. My class has been disrupted a couple times this week, and I had to apologize. So I'm going to apologize to everyone whose life or your work has been disrupted because we've had to have late openings. So he asked me, what do you do, how do you make those decisions? There's actually a group of us who meet. We look at the weather forecast. We think about what the conditions on campus are going to be. We're on a hill, so we're very concerned about people parking up the hills and trying to come down. And we do make our decisions independent of Seattle and Bothell, so they do different things because the weather patterns here in Tacoma, we're looking specifically of what the Weather Service says is going to happen here in Tacoma. And thank God we have just an incredible facilities team, the grounds and campus team and campus security. And they're doing pre-treating the nights before when we were getting these forecasts. But even then, we're always concerned about safety and will people be able to get in and off of campus safely. So that is when we make that call to delay and start, or sometimes to close the campus completely. And I'm sorry that it disrupts people, but we are really just trying to make sure that we're acting in the best interest of our employees and our students to make sure that everybody stays as safe as possible when we're having these weather events. Fortunately, we're in the middle of February, so hopefully this will be over soon, and that Friday will be our last event. But I just want to thank you all for the patience and understanding when we make these calls. And I want to thank the facilities team and the campus security team, because when we make those calls, those folks still come. Even though, it's not always safe for them, but they come to make sure that it's safe for us when we get here. So we want to thank them. One of the other things, we got a lot of stuff on the agenda today. I want to talk a little bit about the federal orders without my head exploding, give you an update on where we are in the legislature, and then Ben and Sylvia and Joe are going to come up and give an update on the master plan, housing, dining, and the budget, and then Abby is going to talk about the Gallup survey, and then we have two of our faculty members who are going to talk about the work that we're doing on tri-campus capacity for community engagement. So just reminding you all that this is an update, so it's a lot of giving you information. We will have time for questions, but the campus update is an update, and then next month will be an opportunity for us to engage around an issue more substantively rather than just talking at you. Okay, we always start also with just reminding us of our student retention and the things that drive enrollment. So it's retention and enrollment, new students. Our first year retention, this is not a new number, but we should be happy and celebrating that number has gone up, and we've surpassed the goal that's in our strategic plan. We still have equity gaps though, so still concerned about that, and we'll continue to work on those numbers. Our first quarter, our autumn to winter retention, these are new numbers, these are hot off the press, went down a little bit. But the good news is we closed the equity gap. So it's really interesting the way these numbers go. We continue to monitor these, and thank you to Bonnie and Amanda and the team that is leading the student success, because that is the work that will move these retention numbers for us. And then thank you to Shannon and her team for always helping us drive the enrollment numbers. So Jill tried to explain this to me, and I'm going to try my best to explain it to you all. So for fall, for winter, so if I had a pointer, which usually there's a pointer on here, no pointer. Look at the winter number, which is the 4845, and that is an increase compared to winter last year. So last year we were at 4579, we're at 4845 this winter. So increase in winter quarter enrollment. So we're in good shape in winter quarter enrollment. Part of that is also a function of the fall quarter enrollment. So if you look at the fall 24 number, which is the 4980, we had less melt than we have had in prior years. So that melt is students who we admit, they say they're gonna come and then they don't show up. So we had less of that happening this year, this winter. So that sort of drove that. Plus the retention numbers that I showed you before, our winter, fall to winter retention is up. So thank you to everyone who does the work, and it is the work of all of us to make sure that our students are successful and being able to move towards graduation as they come here. Oh, okay, so go from good news to, we have reactivated our COVID emergency incident command group in response to all of the federal executive orders. We are meeting on a regular basis now, at least twice a week, for the Tacoma campus. And then Andy and I and Cheryl, I think Cheryl may still be traveling, are engaged in weekly conversations thus far about this, all of the federal executive orders. Probably the most concerning is the research, the executive orders around research and undocumented students. The impact on undocumented students. So the research freeze, we are part of a lawsuit that put a temporary restraining order in place that ordered the government to release the funds. Those funds still haven't been released. Yesterday, a federal judge issued sort of a reprimand saying, I ordered you all to release the funds, you haven't done it, you're going to be in contempt. So we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with that. The latest also was an executive order cutting the amount of overhead funding for NIH grants to 15% from 30%. And again, another lawsuit filed. A judge said that is unconstitutional, you can't do that. But we're still waiting to see. There's a temporary restraining order in place, another hearing, I think it's February 21st. So a lot of moving pieces around federal funding, and then a lot of conversation about what's going to happen with the Department of Education. This morning we saw a freeze on grants from the Department of Education, including the funding that supports the National Center for Education Statistics. So very concerned about what's going to happen there. We are continuing, this is why we're having although we're meeting every other day, we're talking about it every day. Because this is, while we don't have large numbers of research dollars here, we do have 45 employees who would be impacted. That's students and professional and faculty who are either partially paid or 100% paid on grants. And so we are very concerned about the funding issue. The other issue that continues to come up is the executive order around deporting folks without documentation. And there's a lot of anxiety, not just here. One of my friends works at a hospital. They're concerned about what happens if customs agents come to campus. So I didn't see Abby sent something out to supervisors. We are trying to make sure people know what to do. At the end of the day, you should refer people to campus safety. And we have some verbiage that people can use for that, but it is do not engage. You cannot just call campus safety. And so we will have that. I think we have a supervisors community of practice tomorrow. So we'll be continuing to answer questions that supervisors might have about that, about what happens if ICE comes to campus. The other things that are pending that we are continuing to monitor, but we don't actually have real information on any of it other than the lawsuits. But there is an executive order asking for a review of visas for countries that are deemed security risks, and we saw this in the first Trump administration, and that review is it's a 90-day review, so we'll know more about that in May. But our international scholars and students, this will be a huge impact on them, and that's what we saw in the first administration. Our Office of Global Affairs here is partnering with the Office of Global Affairs on the Seattle campus to make sure we have resources available for students and faculty who may be impacted by that. The diversity, equity, and inclusion, we've asked for guidance on some of those executive orders from the Attorney General. We're expecting that in April or May. In the meantime, we are continuing to do what we do because our efforts are funded with state dollars. And in the state of Washington, it is still very much the law that we can pursue diversity, equity, and inclusion. But we are waiting for guidance from the Attorney General on that. And then, maybe not as salient to us as an institution, but maybe salient to us as a community, the ban on gender-affirming care and the loss of protection, Title IX protection for trans and queer community members. So we're continuing to monitor that as well. We are part of, the University of Washington is part of a lawsuit on that, and that is pending. So I think what we're going to see over the next few months are a ton of lawsuits and a lot of uncertainty about what is going to happen. And so we, as a leadership team, are doing our best to stay on top of this and to work closely with the Attorney General to make sure that we are not doing anything that's going to put our federal financial aid at risk. And that's why this is so important, because they do have the ability to pull federal financial aid from our students. And for us here, with I think it's 68% of our students getting some form of financial aid, this is a big deal if our federal funding is pulled. And for those of you who are researchers, if you get a work stop order, we have not gotten any work stop orders, at least we had not as of Monday, our Monday call. But if you get one, please work with Cheryl, send that to the Office of Research so that she then is working with the larger Office of Research and the Attorney General to track those as we go forward. Okay. Legislative update. As you all know, this is a budget year. We have a lot of issues going on in Olympia as well around our funding. There is a projected deficit in the state budget. And as we went down with what we considered a modest ask, we're still concerned about whether or not we will get our modest ask funded. The University of Washington has identified compensation as its highest priority for funding, and we want to get to 100% funding for salary increases. Right now, when we give salary increases, the legislature only gives us 60% of the funding. And so we have to come up with 40% of the funding locally in order to do that, which means a budget cut for Tacoma and for Bothell. We have a capital ask in to make sure that we can find a permanent solution to our electrical power issue that we have this summer. And I am assured by all of our delegation here that they know that that is our highest priority and that we must have a permanent solution, because although we love Tacoma Power and they have been really helpful to us, they are very clear that what they have done for us is temporary and we need to find a permanent solution. We had an investment in student support services that helped us with mental health counseling, with support for reentry, and they gave us that money for 2 years, and we're asking to make that permanent. And then we have been working on expanding nursing education, because in Pierce County, as in the state of Washington, there's an acute crisis in the healthcare workforce, and so we want to expand what we're doing with nursing, and so we have an ask there. The projected deficit was based on the last revenue forecast that came out from the state. There will be another revenue forecast that will come out in March, and the legislature is legally obligated to balance the budget to that forecast. I did hear yesterday or last week when we were on the Seattle campus, Andy and I sat in the government relations office, so we got a lot of inside scoop on things. And there is some speculation that perhaps they won't reach an agreement by the end of April, and that it may be pushed out to an extended session in order to wait for a June forecast. But whatever forecast is in place, when they adopt the budget, they have to balance the budget to that forecast. So there is more information about that on our government relations page if you are so inclined to and interested in that. Our students did an incredible job. Thank you, Connor, and ASUWT leadership. They did Huskies on the Hill, and I think they had almost 100 students, it was 80-something students who went down and lobbied on behalf of all of our agenda, but they also have a student agenda. So it was an impressive turnout for students. And then I will go down, I've been going down every other week, so I go down next week again to meet with legislators to just reiterate that we do need this funding. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to something fun. I feel like I'm like, why don't you guys give me like the hard, negative things? And then they get to come up and talk about the fun things. No. Anyway, thank you all for all you're doing. And again, thank you for the patience with the weather. And thank you to Campus Safety and Security and Facilities for keeping us safe. Appreciate you all.
The boss figured out my agenda writing tactics. So yes, we get to talk about the fun. I'm going to hand you a microphone. We get to talk about the fun things. One of them is the campus master plan. As you know, we are in the process of developing a plan for how this campus will grow up this hill. And then a big piece of that in the immediate term is housing and dining and what we're doing with housing and dining. So just wanted to give a quick update on that. This chart shows our process around engagement with all of our campus constituencies and where we are in this process. You'll see March, we will have the draft plan framework. We'll put it on the website. We will send it out to everyone, and we'll be seeking throughout the month of March input on that, thoughts on it, so that then in April, we can refine that and publish our plan. And the thought is that then we will take that plan and then do kind of a roadshow out in the community with different constituencies, including both internally to our campus and externally in the community, to share kind of this exciting vision for what UW-Tacoma is going to become. So, and then I put on here 2025 through 50 is when the real work begins. This plan is a framework. It is kind of, it is not a design, it is more of a framework that then we can hang different things on as we begin to develop different projects and buildings and campus infrastructure growing up the hill. So the real work begins when we start doing the projects.
The projects. So right now, we are also in the process, as we talked about, of putting together residence hall dining package that was approved to move forward by the Board of Regents last June. And so we are working with the Attorney General's office, the lawyers, real estate, capital planning, and a number of other groups in Seattle to put together what that package would look like, and then also test it out in the market for developers to see if there would be interest. Then we will go with a draft request for proposal that needs to be approved by the Board of Regents. So the Board of Regents will approve that, and then we will go out to bid. So it's certainly, these projects can take, this one in particular, close to 8 years probably, until we are completed from the time we actually proposed it to the time we see students enter it. So you'll be hearing about it for a long time. But we are excited. Really, once you get to this stage, it's fast. it feels slow, but it's fast moving forward. There's lots of little tiny details. So we will call upon the community, much like we did with the master planning, when we get to points where there's actual engagement that's not lawyer legalese and pro forma consultants and all of those other pieces. But we are really excited about the future and having residence hall dining here on campus. Another couple of updates that go along with that are the capital planning process at the University of Washington, which we call CPAT, convenes annually to look at proposals for capital planning. This coming summer in '25 will be the last time that will be an annual process. It will be going to a 2-year process that has to have a lot of pre-design and feasibility work done by your campus or school in Seattle prior to proposals even being submitted. So very intentional in the work that is done and in designing things before they get into a pipeline to be prioritized. So we will be doing and preparing and standing up organizational structures to support that work, because the more competitive we are in that process, obviously, the more we can hope to build projects here on campus.
And I'm going to share a couple of pretty pictures with you.
Yeah.
So this, I wish I could make this bigger, but this is the general overall campus framework for moving forward. A couple of key features of it, again, framework, not design. A couple of key features of it are this massing here, this big square, is new student housing. This is student dining. And this area in here becomes our own quad on campus. So it's between kind of the new housing, the dining, and where the Swiss is. There's this big kind of green space that incorporates a lot of the design features that we heard from our campus community that they wanted incorporated. And then these green spaces kind of continue up the hill all the way up to the far corner of campus. So it creates this big kind of green space that divides campus and creates a unique feature, looking out at the mountain from our hillside. And then these are just big blocks, different possible building sites for as we need buildings moving up the hill. So this is the project that's moving forward now, though, the housing and dining. So here's the timeline that we talked about doing. We're doing our demand study right now. It's out to students this week. We'll develop our request for proposals. We'll go to the regents this fall, and then go out for the whole contracting and designing and building with the target date of opening in autumn of '29. So, and another pretty picture. This is a conceptual drawing of that quad space here in the middle, and the edge of what would be housing and dining. Don't worry about the building design. It's just a thing they plug in there. But conceptually, this is what we're looking at doing. All of this will be in this plan that will come out on March 1st, that we'll be asking for feedback on this. It's a whole lot more than this. It's the version,
178 pages.
it was 178 pages. I think we got them to pare it down just a little bit to condense it. But it's long, and it has a lot of layers of information. So I'm looking forward to getting it out so that our community can see it and give feedback on it.
And Joe, can we have Ben real quick talk about one of the things he's been working on that I think is unique to this sort of quad idea?
Do you want to point?
Which thing would that be? So I work on a lot of things. So when the master plan is out for review, one of the things that folks will notice is that there's a change to how we are thinking about 19th Street, Court C, and also Jefferson. So 19th Street and Court C we've been talking about for a while in terms of vacation. 19th continues to be a place where we've got vehicles coming down the road, coming into campus. So we're going to be able to accomplish that. Actually, we'll probably be closing that up a little bit later this year. And then Jefferson is actually targeted to be dialed down to be much more of a pedestrian zone. Vehicle access would be likely limited to pretty much service vehicles in emergency in that case. And so what that's going to do is that is going to really contribute to that overall, the quad experience, what we're calling the sort of heart of campus, in terms of how that street is going to interface with the adjacent student housing and with the food service. So, and I just want to underline one thing. The survey that was mentioned, the student housing demand survey, is going to be open until
This weekend.
this weekend. So if you see communication coming across the wire about that, please, please, please encourage students to complete that.
And I'll answer the first, once we get to the Q&A. I know what the first question is. I've been here long enough. Yes, the plan addresses parking.
Oh, my budget.
Next slide is next.
Fantastic. And just, all right, and then on for what Sheila said was fun. So the budget update, this is just a really brief update. So I know you guys have seen this slide a lot of times. The "you are here" has thankfully moved. And as Sheila shared, as we suspected in the fall, but now compounded as well with the federal executive orders, we do anticipate that more than likely the House and Senate will do a continuing resolution and will extend and not have a budget as we had originally thought they would in the March/April timeframe. However, that doesn't change right now the work that needs to be done to take some amount of budget to the Board of Regents and up through the shared governance process at the Seattle campus. We have here, if you have watched any of our videos, which I'm sure you all have about budget kickoff, our budgets came in, the requests and decrease scenarios. They have been reviewed by our 21-person budget advisory committee for feedback and notes. The vice chancellors have now met several times to review them, and we are prepared to present some recommendations to the chancellor tomorrow. That is sort of where we are in our budget plan. Then we submit all of those to Seattle, and a number of us, Andy, Sheila, and I, and Cherie Berthon, will make the trek to Seattle and discuss those proposals with the president and provost. We do anticipate that we will probably have to come back after the House and Senate have finally decided what is going to happen with the state of Washington's budget to do some more work. And for now, we are waiting to see what that looks like before the campus digs in to do more work. We want to be really sensitive that these are uncertain times, and we don't want to do work now that then may need to be redone again and again and again. So for now, we will put together what we have been asked to submit for this next year, which is a balanced budget based on what we know is happening here at UW-Tacoma. And we will provide updates at town halls and campus updates as we learn more information. For anyone that hasn't heard me say this before, we do have a budget website, so it has recordings and all of the emails that have gone out and all of the information about our budget process this year as well as last year and previous years. So if you have any questions or want to catch up and watch any of those riveting recordings, they are all out there for your review. So, next. Yay, Abby.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am Abby Zorn. I'm the HR director here, if I haven't met you yet. And I have what I think is also a fun topic, which is our employee engagement survey, which we are very excited to be launching very soon on February 24th with our partner, Gallup. And so you might know Gallup is an organization mostly known for polling, I think, but they also do a lot of really excellent work in the organizational development space, and they have a really amazing employee engagement survey that we are going to be using. So some of you might be wondering, what is employee engagement? And so this is Gallup's definition. Employee engagement is the involvement and enthusiasm of employees in their work and workplace. Employees can become engaged when their basic needs are met, when they have a chance to contribute, a sense of belonging, and opportunities to learn and grow. And it's really those four factors at the end of that sentence that Gallup uses to create its core survey questions. And they are always telling us, engagement, it's really more than just your typical job satisfaction survey, and also really helps us better plan for just better outcomes for our organization. So again, Gallup has spent a lot of time researching best practices in this space and why engagement is a really important metric to track. And I'll now just share some of the kind of details about the survey. So like I said, it's going to be launching on February 24th. It's going to be open for about 2 weeks. It is not long. It is going to be, I think, 17 questions, and they're all kind of those Likert scale questions, so just like strongly disagree to agree. So we anticipate it will take only 10 minutes to complete. Why we're working with Gallup, obviously they are really just best in the business when it comes to employee engagement, and also our friends on the UW-Bothell campus have been working with Gallup, implementing this survey for many years on their campus and have gotten a lot of value out of that partnership. All responses will be completely confidential, so individual responses will not be seen by anyone at UW. Gallup will be collecting the responses. They will be only returning them to us in aggregate, and there's going to be a minimum reporting threshold of 4, so we won't be able to see any data for a group unless there's at least 4 responses. So of course, please make sure you fill out the survey, because the more people that fill it out, the more data we'll be able to get, and it will be more helpful to us. And the audience is going to be staff and faculty, so I think we'll be sending the survey to about like 860 people. So we should get a good amount of data back. So there's a lot of great reasons to fill out the survey, but here are just a few. Your input will directly shape the future of our work environment. It will help us to better foster a more collaborative and inclusive culture. It can really directly affect your own growth and development and that of your team. Again, if enough people on your team fill out the survey, your supervisor will get some really targeted information about employee engagement on their team or within a division. And Gallup does a really amazing job of providing resources that are specifically targeted to our results. And that's another thing we're really excited about. They will be guiding us on action planning. So we will be taking the results and actually using them to build a plan for our campus to improve employee engagement. Employee engagement has also been linked to well-being, which I know is important to a lot of us. And so by improving employee engagement, we should also be able to improve well-being for our employees. We plan to be very transparent with the data that we collect. It will be available on a website, so you'll be able to see it. And again, if you're wondering what we'll do with this data, we will be working with Gallup on the action plan to guide us going forward. You will receive an email from Gallup with a link to the survey, so it won't be coming from a UW email address, it will be coming from Gallup. It will have a link in it, so you just need to click the link, fill out the survey. Again, it should not take very long. And you will continue to receive emails from Gallup until you complete the survey, so just keep that in mind. We will also be doing, obviously, a lot of communication about this. We really want as many people as possible to fill out the survey. I'm here today. I think an email went out this morning, also from me, about this survey. We'll be kind of popping up in different areas, just trying to leverage all communication channels to get the word out before and during while the survey is out. And so, yes, we're really excited, and please just keep an eye on your inbox for that link on February 24th.
So many of you know that we have been involved in resubmitting our Carnegie work for recertification as a Carnegie Engaged campus, but there's a lot of work that we were already doing in that regard. And so Ali and a group of faculty have been leading this work, and so I'm going to invite Layla Taylor and Janelle Halls to come up and give us an update on that work.
Click through the slides. Yeah. Okay. Great. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Great. I'm Layla Taylor, she, her pronouns, and this might be the first time for a lot of you who have seen me, but I'm working in the Office of Community Partnerships. Janelle and I are co-developing some faculty development, professional development together, which I'll fill you in on. I joined the Office of Community Partnerships on a project appointment that was funded by the Office of the President in support of this project that I'm going to share an update with you about today. I've been here since May and will be here through the end of this year. Essentially, my closest peers, I really want to kind of shout them out before I give you our update, but have here at UWT have been the Office of Community Partnership staff, Carly, Ali, Julia, as well as faculty, Mark Pagano, Anaid, Yerena, Janelle Haas, and Rita Tan. We've worked together a lot over the past year on work that we were charged with. I wanted to point out that throughout this presentation, you can click on a QR code if you're interested in looking at the website that has all of this information and more on it as well. So I have a very short time and I want to share a lot with you, so I'll get to it. This is I'm not trying to, is this better? Hello? No? Yeah, you can hear me? Okay, great, I'm gonna do this. There's a long history of community engaged scholarship and learning at the University of Washington, and the yellows on this timeline show you kind of where UW Tacoma sits, and also some of the tri-campus efforts that are shared between UW Tacoma and the three other campuses. This work of the building capacity for community engagement throughout the three campuses was really born from the recognition that community engaged faculty, staff, students, and community partners could really all be more supported for basically greater ethical alignment, more positive impacts, and reduced negative impacts in the community. And in the spring of 2022, President Kase secured a $3.8 million gift from an anonymous donor to basically catalyze community engagement by improving tri-campus community engagement infrastructure. And we're using the words infrastructure and capacity kind of interchangeably to really encapsulate programs, policies, processes, positions, and other systems and structures that are really essential to ethical community engagement. So I want to pause for a moment and ask you all, who here has engaged in a course or a research project that has included external partners? Raise your hand. Yes, wonderful. Who here feels like you are a member of a community outside or even within the UW? Right? So everything that I'm talking about here today on some level may impact you in some way. So wanted to kind of point that out. The next thing I want to share with you is a picture of only a few people. This is a sampling. Overall, the project has a project director, Jen Davison. She was hired, and the first working group was launched in 2022. And since then, there have been over 50 people, including faculty, staff, community partners, and Cool, thank you. Faculty, staff, and community partners, including some students who have directly collaborated on this project with hundreds of other people inside and outside the UW giving input. So this slide here, which may have some familiar faces to you, is representative of this year's team, this year's iteration. This is our strategic framework. So early on in the project, these 7 priorities were identified, and so I'm not going to read through them, but I'd love for you to take a look at them. Later, I'm going to be sharing our newly created definition principles, and if you click on the QR code on the other slides and go to the website, you can also see a lovely PDF of the definition principles and principled practices that are kind of inspired by the UW Diversity Blueprint and the Okanagan Charter, amongst other documents. So this gives you a sense of where we are in the project. We're in the middle. We spent a lot of time in collaborative and community engaged conversation. It was really essential to take time over the years to understand what was needed. And so now that we have some seeds of capacity, we're in an active stage of kind of planting, sowing, and growing. But we're still in the middle. So I want to share with you this kind of organizational capacities chart, which is a lot. There's a lot of words on these slides. I know I would feel that way looking at them, but it's dense, but it's a compilation of all the capacities that we have built across the 3 campuses, the faculty and staff and community partner teams that have worked toward each and every one of these things over the past year. So these are capacities that we've built, they've been put into place, and they're organized by different organizational capacities. This is a model inspired and adopted from the Child Welfare Capacity Building Collaborative, and there's a link on here. You'll be able to see this afterward. Now, I want to show you more concretely kind of where UW-Tacoma and this tri-campus work kind of segue and fit together. So I want to zoom in on this, where we are today. So on the left are the capacities that we're developing this year across the 3 campuses. We want to, promote awareness and integration amongst you of the community engagement definitions and principled practices. There's going to be a launch of a data management system shared across all 3 campuses to collect information about community engagement and partnerships. We are going to Janelle and I are co-developing a faculty and staff community engagement professional development pilot, which will happen in May. Another group at Seattle campus is developing a student community engagement training pilot. And so much of the materials and the tools that we're developing will actually be on a knowledge hub on the UW community engagement website. And we're all doing this to kind of really center our community partners and ethical partnerships and how we are in community beyond UW. So a couple of things here at UW-Tacoma that I really, really want to call out to, that this tri-campus work is really supporting and helping with are listening sessions that I'm going to be holding with community engaged faculty and staff who support community engaged faculty to kind of really better understand what the landscape is and so that the OCP can explore ways of enhanced support for community engaged faculty and staff. The hiring of a new data manager to support the data management system, and then faculty and staff professional development. And we do have dates, and we'll be sharing that out and promoting to you all. Another thing to share is that we're working to find pathways and resources to sustainably scale and integrate the pilot programming and these materials. And so we welcome conversations with whoever would like to discuss how to do that. And if you'd like to talk to somebody about that, that's Ali Modaris right over there. It's part of the Office of Community Partnerships.
And finally, I want to leave you with this QR code and this lovely image of our definition and principles and principled practices document that everyone can access. Maybe you'd like to incorporate it into your class, and maybe you'd like to talk to me more about how you might do that. Or your research project, but I'm not going to read this out loud. I would love to share with you the principles that are guiding this work, and that were developed by the UW Tacoma faculty and staff team that I mentioned earlier. So this is the framework from which we all hope to operate in our community engaged practices here and at all the campuses. So this work is really a testament to the commitment of my colleagues, Janelle, Mark, Anaid, Rita, thank you. I also have a lot of links and ways that you can get engaged, and you can see that there's a community of practice. Our next meeting is February 24th. Please share these principles and definitions and ask me and the OCP team questions about them. You can come to us anytime. And then if your faculty and your staff, especially if you're new to community engagement, please participate in and promote faculty and staff professional development training pilot in May. Do you want to say anything else about that?
Not about that, but I will say I'm up here for moral support. I don't have a part. And definitely check out the PDF because UWT is featured quite a lot in the pictures.
Yeah. Finally, this is our contact information, and thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all for the work, and thank you for the group of faculty who are joining them in this work. And UWT is featured so prominently because we actually lead in the tri-campus system on community engaged scholarship. So we are, yes. Bothell and Seattle are trying to replicate a lot of what we already do here. So, and as usual, we're taking it to a whole new level. So thank you for the leadership on that. Okay, so we wanted to leave time for questions about any of the things that were on the agenda. I'll go back to the agenda to remind you all where we started. And if there are questions, Joe has the mic. While we're waiting for people to come, I want to say one of the prominent things that's also coming out of the campus master plan is a new front door for the campus on Tacoma Avenue. So changing the way that people enter into the campus, and then making the campus, I guess the boundaries of campus more clear, because most people don't realize that, 21st, that we're between 21st and 17th and go up to Tacoma Avenue. So some kind of ways of marking and having branding about the UW all around the boundaries of campus. Okay, questions about, I was going to go back to the original agenda. Questions about any of those things, or about something else?
Oh, this is for Joe. It's kind of a small thing, but since nobody else is asking anything, I'll just ask on the master plan, that lovely map there. I recall in the last master plan, kind of right in the center, kind of where that new parkway would start, that plaza, there was a spot designated for a memorial for the Japanese language school. Is that still part of the plan?
We've talked a lot about kind of honoring both the Japanese language school and indigenous use of the land throughout the plan. It's throughout the plan. The original Japanese language school monument is down on the Prairie Line Trail, but we've also talked about, if you look at that plan, up at the far right-hand corner is kind of this overlook plaza. That is actually where the Japanese language school was, is up in that far right corner. It wasn't next to 17th, but it was one lot in. So we've talked about recognizing that in the spot where the language school was. Yeah.
I have a budget question. On the budget slide, you quantified all of the requests that were going to be made. I was just curious if you could approximate the amount of the, if the state were to fund the total cost of compensation increases, what's that amount?
I think it's $100 and something million. I'd have to, for the entire university. It's a big ask, and it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, thank you. I don't have the number, but I remember for some reason it's 135 million stands out in my mind, but it's a big number. Yes, yeah.
I don't have a question. I had something I want to tell people about. A couple new food options down on Pacific Avenue that we've lined up over the last month or so. First is called Cafe Luna, that's going in where Crisp Greens used to be. Cafe Luna has a location in Pioneer Square, and it's coffee and sandwiches and salads and whatnot, and something called Dubai chocolate. Apparently, it's all the rage on TikTok. And the second is a backfill for where Poke to the Max used to be. It's another Poke operator, a little bit more of a stripped down menu, but we just signed them yesterday, so we're looking forward to that getting started too.
Great, thank you. And thank you to Mintha and her team and facilities for making it happen. The Food Truck Tuesday is still very successful. So, so maybe we'll go to Food Truck Tuesdays and Thursdays or something. But
they're
Food Truck
still
Tuesday
here.
is still very, yes, the food with Joe and I had lunch there today, very good.
Yes, we had to move them. They were in the turnaround here, but because of the construction out on 21st Street, they've been moved down. They're outside of the Joy building on the Prairie Line Trail. That is the temporary location until this construction project finishes.
And that construction project, although it's irritating right now, it is improving safety because we're going to, it's going to be a stoplight there. Yes, there's going to be a traffic light there. Yes, so it is, it's irritating now, but in the end, we'll be happy that there will be a traffic light there. Okay.
These guys reminded me of, there's a group in Tacoma, it's called Tacoma Rising. It is a group of businesses and architects and developers and that have approached us about engaging our student population with an event where students will be paid $250 per student to participate for a morning of this event. And they look at a particular issue in a city. This has been done in other places. And we suggested that they take on the Swiss and look at the Swiss and develop ideas about how it could work, what it could be, and make proposals on that. It is April 10th is when it will be. We will start to push out information to students. We want 25 students to participate in 5 teams. And then when it's also something that you can attend and go observe students presenting their ideas about the Swiss and how to re-engage the Swiss. You can, as an observer, you can participate.
Thanks for bringing that up, Joe. I just wanted to add, our civil engineering seniors last year did a capstone project that looked at the Swiss and some sustainability features, so it might be worth reaching out to NAR Alameda to incorporate some of that information that they've already worked on.
Yeah, because the students will be getting pre-information about the physical infrastructure, what the building is. A lot of what they're going to be looking at is programming. What do we do in that space? So both the physical piece of it and what happens in the space and how does it integrate with, remember where I showed you, it is immediately adjacent to this new quad that will exist. So how does that engage with the outdoor space? So we heard a lot in the master planning process about the need for outdoor space, amphitheater kind of space for outdoor events and activities. So how it interacts with that outdoor space is important too. So yes, as a resource, that would be great. And we want those students to participate in the event. They have ideas.
It might be hard to believe, but not everybody knows what the Swiss is.
Yeah, the new people don't know what the Swiss is. By the time I got here, it closed, so I never did anything there.
Yeah, actually, when we brought up the Swiss, the guy that is running this with Tacoma Rising, he got to Tacoma in like the very end of 2019. And when we brought up the Swiss, that was his response was, "What's the Swiss?" Which for those of us who were here, but his assistant said, "Wait a minute, what? You don't know?" So she told him all about it. She's from Tacoma. Told him all about it, what it is, what it meant. We talked to him about what it meant to this campus in terms of kind of a campus heart and place for engaging. So the Swiss Hall, by the way, for those of you who don't know what the Swiss Hall is, the Swiss Hall has been there since 1910. It was a Swiss Hall. There were multiple different uses of it over the year. Upstairs, above what was the Swiss restaurant, which was a bar and restaurant, is a hall, an actual hall with a stage. We have not used that space as a campus-based activity space, but there's also apartments. So Swiss immigrants, when they would move to Tacoma, would stay there and until they got established and could get jobs and move into the community. So it has a strong history as a kind of cultural piece, but also as our campus culture. For those of us who were here before it closed in early 2020, it served as a meeting, gathering, cultural hub for our campus.
Okay, if no more questions, we're at 1:30. Thank you all for today, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.